Welcome to the personal side of business,
where you hear real stories from real entrepreneurs. Hi, and welcome to the personal side of business, where every business has a story. I'm your host, Jet Bundiwang. Today, we're going to have the expert on making you the expert. Welcome to the podcast, Christine Blosdale.
Thank you, Jet. I've been looking forward to this. I can't wait to throw out some gems for your audience.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to it too. So let's start first. Let's tell the audience how we got here. Tell your story.
Well, I am the expert authority coach, and I help overwhelmed authors, coaches, solopreneurs. I help them get seen, get trusted, and most importantly, get paid for what they already know. So there's no huge learning curve. It's just taking what your genius and putting it out there in a way so that your brand and your messaging comes across. And I love what you do. And I think that as a podcaster and as a fellow podcaster, you've chosen one of the greatest platforms to get your name out there and get recognition for what you do by having your own podcast. So
thank you.
Congratulations. And you've gone past the 7, the magic 7. You're a veteran now.
Yeah. It's been a interesting journey. It went from just sort of a hobby idea to really help entrepreneurs get their word out. And now it's taken a life on its own. Did you feel that way at a certain point, or did you have a business plan in your head of how you were going to approach podcasting? Because this is what you teach people.
Well, for me, it was a natural move because I did 20 years in broadcast journalism. So I was on radio for 20 years, and I loved the art of the interview, and I love audio. I think it's a very intimate art form, and you're not judging somebody based on how they look. You're only hearing their voice and listening to their breath and those pauses and that juicy, tone of their voice.
Yeah.
So I loved it for that many years, 20 years. And then what the thing is about with radio is that you do a program and you have a great interview with somebody, and then it's out there over the airwaves, and whoever was sitting in their car, stuck in traffic, listening to it, they got to hear it. But back then also there was no replays. So if you missed it, you missed it. And as a host, you're like, oh, that was so good. I wish more people heard it. So when this thing called podcasting came around, and I started, I think it was about 11 years. I have to get the exact date, but I think it was about 11 years ago that I started. I just thought it was a brilliant format because I was like, oh my gosh, you mean I can talk about anything I want? And, no subject is taboo, and it can live on in perpetuity. And yeah, that's sort of the natural progression that I did. I just knew that I needed a platform that I could continue the thing that I love, that I'm passionate about. So it started off that way, and then it sort of morphed. As I became a coach, it was a great platform for that as well. But it was just a natural progression.
That's great. When you were doing radio, what were some of the limits that you felt like were on you as a host?
Well, we have that hard clock, right? And with podcasting, you can have a podcast episode that's 10 minutes long, that's an hour long. If you're a Joe Rogan-y kind of guy, you can have a 2 or 3 hour podcast episode, right? So it's really, you have that creative freedom. But we had a very hard clock, so that at the 20-minute mark, we needed to do a station ID. It was legally, we were supposed to do it. And then play our promos and then come back. So just as you're getting into, a juicy conversation, or just when you're starting to, then you go, okay, we'll be right back, kind of thing. And it wasn't a commercial radio station. So yeah.
There's such a cool flow.
No, it wasn't a commercial.
Oh, okay. Oh, it wasn't commercial. Yeah. There's such a cool flow to podcasting that I guess allows you to express yourself in your mind and be able to dive into a topic so well. And I think it translates to a lot of what you're teaching your students and your clients about bringing out that expertise in what they know, right? Because I think the first couple of episodes, if you start to have podcasting as part of your platform to be able to get your information out there, it's trying to figure out and navigate who you are as a quote unquote podcaster and how you feel comfortable in speaking and getting that voice out there. Do you see that a lot with your clients that over time, that first or second podcast is so different from where they are, like podcast number 10, like their episode number 10, they're just, now you're like, whoa, that was you hiding there all along, just waiting for an opportunity and a platform to get that information out there.
But yeah, no, I listened to even my own first podcast, and I was like, because my technology, when I was at the radio station, I had a studio with a professional technician behind the glass. And then when I started my podcast, I think I had this weird system where I had a microphone. It was pointing towards a speaker, and I would have people on Skype. You remember Skype?
Yeah.
I would have people on Skype. And it was that
baby Zoom. That was a baby Zoom back then.
Yeah. But it's, what? It's the content that's important. It's what you do with that time. So I remember early on, I had an interview with a narcissist. I have actually written a book based on those interviews, but I had an interview with a narcissist, and the sound quality was funky. It was I had no video, and I had the microphone pointing toward a speaker, but it was such an interesting topic, and the guest was so interesting that show got so many. Still to this day, it's one of the most popular episodes, and that was 10, 11 years ago. So it's really about what you do and how you do it, not so much that perfectionism, right? And for those people who are just starting off and they want to create their own podcast, you know what? Just do it, and then be consistent, but stick with it, because I think it was Apple Podcasts not too long ago, and they said that the average podcaster does about 7 episodes and then they quit.
Yeah.
And because they haven't made a gazillion dollars, or they don't have 10,000 followers. I don't know, subscribers. So the thing is that if you quit before you get your juice going and people can find out about you, then, it's not a waste, but my goodness, you want to stick with it. That's really the important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's one of the toughest things, is seeing this long road instead of just seeing a couple of blocks. To be that's where I need to be. But really, it's this journey that where I'm at now, I never would have thought it would have gotten even this far. And I was just like, well, we'll just do this, and whatever happens, happens. And along the way of what that quote unquote plan that I thought I had has now changed quite a bit. And to have a conversation with someone you're in Australia. So this is that's why we didn't even bring that up, but to have a podcast, like I thought every podcast episode I was going to have was going to be in person. And I was like, I can't get to everyone. And there were so many interesting people like yourself that I wanted to really be able to have a conversation with. So these platforms now allow us to be able to have these conversations, and good quality too. And I was thinking when you were bringing that up, imagine we were trying to do a podcast back in, I don't know, 25 years ago. We really would have had to rig up a lot of different contraptions just to make work. I don't know what that was like for you to start to do that in the beginning, but I'm sure it was like, you were like, there's got to be a better
It was
situation.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous back then. It was literally like I had the microphone pointing toward the speaker, and I would put my mouth near the microphone, like, it was on the table, and I'd ask a question, and then I would quietly try and move the mic towards the speaker, let them answer, and then quietly move the microphone back, and then talk into it. And it was horrible. It was horrible. And I don't even think I had headphones attached to it. I don't even think I had headphones.
You weren't even sure if it was picking up. Like, you weren't even sure if this was all picking up on the receiving end. You were just like, we're just going to do it this way.
I had no sound buffering. It was just whatever. It was so bad.
I picture you having like a lazy Susan on there, just spinning it back and forth.
Wish I did. I wish I did. But it's so important. People, here's the thing, even though there's setup that you need to do, and there's definitely a professional equipment that you want to have. You have to have a decent microphone. I see to this day, I see podcasters, I'm guest on their show, and a lot of times they don't have a professional microphone. It doesn't sound very good. It sounds like they're on a phone. So that's not good. We want to have people hear us. But here's the other thing. So in that long journey that you have, and Jet, you know it, and I know it, that long journey that you have of doing the podcast, you can start to be strategic with it if you're if you're working on your brand, if you're working on expressing your brand or your, business, but you can repurpose that content. And this is the thing that a lot of podcasters don't really utilize. Every episode of your podcast can be turned into a chapter in a book, which could be a bestseller, right? If you interview, let's say you're interviewing women who've crashed through the glass ceiling. Holy smoke. If you put all of those interviews together and every interview, every episode was a chapter in a book about the 50 top women who've crashed through the glass ceiling, that book would become a bestseller, mate. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
so you can do that. You can take the video portion of your podcast and use that for creating reels and TikToks and all of that. You can create a course out of the content that you have if you structure your podcast a certain way. So there's so many things that you can do. You can turn those interviews into blogs, not just transcripts, because that's boring. But you can take, here's something of Jet. Use a program called Video to Blog. It's free. Video to Blog. You take your video, okay, of yourself, or if you're being interviewed or if you're interviewing somebody, you take that video, you chuck it into that, and it will turn it into a enjoyable blog, article, newsletter, listicle, summary, whatever. So it's
Wow.
not just a transcript, it's an actual enjoyable read for somebody. So that's a
Wow.
little tip for you that you
Yeah.
should do. Yeah.
I need to get on this. This is all brand new to me.
It's
There-
AI, darling. It's
yeah.
AI.
Yeah. And okay, so let's kind of jump in a little bit into that, because I feel like AI has allowed people who are either been in the space for a while or just getting into it to really accelerate that connection, one, with the audience, and two, just overall a lot of things. I use AI for so many different things in
Okay.
the background part of it before an episode uploads. What are you teaching to your clients for the use of AI? And we're get into like AI visibility in a little bit. I want to follow up with that.
Yeah. So I drive home the point because I use AI too. I use Chat GPT, I use Gamma, I use Gemini, I use Perplexity a little bit. I also have a little mini AI team of employees. I have an executive assistant. I've got a legal advisor. I've got a social media guy who needs a little bit of help, but I've got all of these different AI tools at my disposal. But here's the thing, and I always tell this to every single client. We want to use AI, and most people are familiar with ChatGPT, and that's the extent of it. They're like, I know what that is. But we want to use it to enhance our business and who we are, not to replace. So I'm a huge person of like, do not allow ChatGPT just to sit there and write your bio. Okay. You don't want any AI program to create something that you're saying that you're creating. Right now, I've just published a book yesterday. Yes, yesterday. I'm just thinking about it. It's like, it's been a long process. I just published a book on Amazon, and I'm happy to say that every single part of that book is from my brain and from my experience. But there's a flood of people that are publishing books that are completely AI
Yeah.
generated. And you know what? They read like they're AI generated. They're not going to connect with your audience because it's not your soul, it's not your human, it's not your energy behind the book. It's a computer generated version of you. So use it to enhance, but not to replace, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if once people start to really understand how to use that to help you, there's going to be I feel like an explosion of professional output over the next 5 to 10 years that we're going to see, where people are just like, I didn't know I had that part of me. And because I had this little push from this AI that, the holes and the gaps that you can't do as a regular entrepreneur or someone that's trying to create a business. And you're like, I'm missing that. Like you're saying, it allows you to have this small team underneath you and just asking it questions and giving you answers to be able to do this. And one of the things that I've been really pushing for people to get into their whole entire ecosystem of the entrepreneurship is being AI visible and using that. We're shifting in a different area where
Mm.
SEO is still there, but AI visibility is so important to get suggested by all these different AI platforms to get your business out there. And I've been trying to recommend this to a lot of different types of entrepreneurs, but I think the idea is still so relatively new that it's almost like trying to throw a bunch of firecrackers at them and say, look, this is what's about to happen. So I want you to
Mm-hmm.
get on board with it now before it's like too late. And then everyone's doing it, because I think if you can jump on board with it now, by the time everyone starts to catch up, you're going to be light years ahead of it, and you just have to make some tweaks. Have you talked to clients about this AI visibility, or start to suggest to them this is a path we have to go so far?
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the, well, I would say it's in the very beginning with, like, when I work with my accelerator clients, the first thing that we do is we actually create a media kit for them, right? So it's a
Okay.
branding media kit so that they can get booked on shows and interviewed and booked for speaking engagements and things like that. But then the very next part of that is the importance of the visibility that we have in Ask Engine. So it's like an AEO, Ask Engine Optimization, right? Which is your chat
Nice.
GPTs and Claude and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So talking about that, what I have is, it's one of I think it's the very first question I have on a quiz that I send people. And in that quiz, it says, if you were to Google or chat GPT your name, okay, and sometimes you have to do your name and type, because if your name is Sue Smith, well, you're going to have to say Sue Smith,
Yeah.
fitness coach or whatever. If you were to put that in, what would come up? And that question used to be, if you were to Google yourself, what would come up? It's interesting because now we have to include that chat GPT. And
Yeah.
that is by getting out. And this is a message I put on every single page of my website. It's at the very bottom, and it says, remember this: if you're not seen and heard, you're not hired. Okay. If you're
Yeah.
not seen and heard, you're not hired. So that means you need to write those blogs. You need to create those videos. You need to get those interviews on podcast shows, appearances on summits, those type of things, because your name and your title and what you do is going to go out into all of these different search engines. And after this, I'm going to be on Jet's search engines, right? All of the stuff that Jet
Yeah.
is putting out about this episode, my name is going to be associated with it and my website. And so all the crawlers, so to speak, all the little Ask Engine, all the little chat GPTs and everything, they're going to go, Christine Blosdale keeps coming up on all these things. We got to pay attention to her because she's relevant.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do. You're not magically going to appear in chat GPT in a search for a particular industry unless you're doing those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I think this is where we are in the world right now, especially with the competition of those who are doing things like this and against those who aren't. And I've spoken to entrepreneurs that are just like, I can't, that's just not me. Like, I'm not into this. I, I just want to, I just want to sell my service or product, and I'll put some stuff up when I need to. And yeah. And I feel like, okay, well, your competition is doing
Doing
more
it.
than you right now. So what is it you're going to try to do
Yeah.
to either fight this off or be able to get ahead of them? So I have a question for you. When you meet a client and they're coming to you and they want all this, right? But they're these introverted personalities that don't feel like they can cross this bridge to get to the other side. Tell me what that conversation is like from your side to them.
Well, I remind them again of what I just said. If you're not seen and heard, you're not hired. Nobody's going to drive down your street and pull up to your driveway and walk up to the door and knock and say, I hear there's somebody really amazing that I need to hire here.
Yeah,
Nobody's
right.
going to do that. Okay. So you have to have some social proof. You have to have a bit of a digital footprint. And for my clients, I do have clients too that are like, Christine, I'm just not going to start creating TikToks because, and
Yeah.
I had a client the other day who's like, I don't think I can do a TikTok. And I said, you're not doing a TikTok. You're doing a video promoting your product or service, but you're going to do it in a way that's like telling a story. It's going to be interesting. And I said, we're going to just do this, and don't even think about it being on TikTok. Just think about creating it first. we're not going to let it out of the bag yet. And it was because they were uncomfortable and stiff in front of the camera. So basically we just had to work on them being comfortable. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We were recording and I just took myself off the screen and I said, so tell me about this particular thing was a book. I said, so tell me about this book. Why do you love this book so much? And they started going into their story about, well, when I was a kid, I really loved this book. And their eyes were lighting up. And again, they weren't focusing on how they looked. They were engaged in the story about why they loved it so much. And then I said, okay, great. That right there is a great reel or TikTok or video snippet that we can put up for you. But you have to get out of that shell and do something. If you're not somebody who loves to be on camera, then babe, you better be writing those blogs and articles. You better be doing something. Okay? Because no one is going to dig and try and figure you out and go, oh, here's a lot of money for your service if they don't see you performing. And if there's no social proof, if you don't have testimonials or reviews from people who work with you, they're going to go, I don't know who this person is. I don't even know if I can trust them. Right.
Yeah. I think that business owners, where, 15 years ago, the website and then maybe the one social media, a Facebook page or something was sufficient, right? We can live with that because it was enough for people to find. But now, like you're saying, there's so much out there, and the person who is willing to go above and beyond to get their information out there and become this brand slash business owner, and it's like this mix now where I think people are wanting to connect to whoever it is that is the CEO, the owner of the business, or if, and I've had this discussion with people that if it's not you, then you need to figure out who it is that can be this persona that's going to represent the business wherever you go. So
yes,
figuring that out too, I think is important. And I think coming up with these steps, because you have a long-term plan, and then you also have a 90-day accelerator plan, right? Can you tell me what the major difference with those two are?
Well, the 90 days, I chose the 90-day accelerator program because exactly in those 3 months, that's just enough time to really transform somebody's business and their brand, because we work on everything, right? So we look at the footprint, the foundation. So many coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, they're out there they're being a salesperson and they're selling something that the people don't want or need. It's just because they know it. Well, I studied it and I got a certificate in it. And so I'm going to sell this thing. And that's my analogy is the stapler versus the sandwich. And what we do is a lot of times as business owners, we're like, oh, here's a stapler world. You got to get the stapler. It's amazing. And I'm going to write blogs about the stapler. I'm going to post pictures about the stapler. It's really cool. It does all these stapling things, right? And we're pushing this product or service to a marketplace that's just saying repeatedly, I don't need a stapler. I don't want a stapler. I just want a sandwich. I just want food, nourishment. You know what? Just buy one, get one free, right? Or it's 50% off today. Again, because we've invested our time. So you really need to take a look at what your audience, your demographic, what do they really need and want? And if you can supply that to them, hallelujah. But then you need to communicate that message properly with them. Okay. That's like one of the key things. So in the 90 days, we work on that foundation. If you don't have a foundation and you're bringing people in your house and the floor is going to collapse, which is what happens with a lot of businesses, they don't have that foundation. They don't have their offers nailed down. They don't have their branding or their mantra. I call it a mantra. Some people call it a tagline. You've got to have those things nailed down first so that when you go out and you do those videos or you do those lives or you're maybe even meeting somebody who might be a client, you have that confidence, right? And you know your shit. Excuse my language, but you know it. You're not like, okay, well, let me get back to you and I'll send you, I don't know, maybe I'll send you a proposal of what we can do. Come on now. You have to know it and it needs to be embedded in your brain so that you can say, right, the 90-day program, the accelerated program is perfect for you because I hold your hand through everything. If you want to create a podcast, I'll show you how to do that. And we'll do it. You will have a podcast. If you want to write a best-selling book, we will do that. And I'll show you, and we will do it together so that you have that book. If you want to speak on stages, we're going to do that. So it depends on the individual, but knowing that they have somebody that's in their corner, that's going to hold their hands. It's not some lonely do-it-yourself course, which I hate. It's a human being, myself, working with them for those 90 days. And after the 90 days, they can stay with me if they want, or they can go and fly and then come back for a tune-up every now and then, right?
Yeah,
So that's
great.
why. And the 90 days is just enough time. It's not a long-term commitment, so people don't have to go, oh my God, I'm signing up for this huge, 6-month commitment with Christine. It's just the 90 days. Or 12 sessions, really.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And, I wanted to touch a point that you brought up in there where it's a little bit, it's kind of like this underlying theme of imposter syndrome, like how I feel like entrepreneurs, as they get into their business, and let's say it feels like the business is not taking off the way they need to, or they start to feel this insecurity in how to make this business grow and scale. Everyone starts to feel that, right? And I think everyone
Yes.
feels that too when you start in podcasting, or you get out there and you start to put yourself out there and go, I feel a little bit ridiculous because I'm not sure, one, if anyone's going to listen to me, or two, it's making even connecting with an audience that makes sense what I'm actually spilling out there in the world. Can you talk a little bit about how you deal with that imposter syndrome when someone comes? Because I'm sure you deal with it with clients all the time.
Absolutely. And I just spoke at a women in business event last night, and I was talking about imposter syndrome. And I said, listen, if you have that icky feeling, oh my God, what are people going to think? Or I don't know if I'm equipped to do this. I'm scared. Right? What are people going to say? Congratulations, because that means you're an overachiever, and imposter syndrome affects everybody at some time in their life. And if you admire an actor or an actress, let's say they're an Academy Award-winning actor or actress, most actors and actresses have imposter syndrome. That's why they play a character so well. Playing themselves, some of these people, they're amazing as an actor playing a character. But the person themselves, they're really boring.
Yeah,
it's just not much to them, right? But when they play somebody else, it's safe for them. When you put it in that perspective, a lot of times my clients, they'll kind of get it. But what I say is this, and this works, I'd say 95% of the time. If you're holding back because you're worried about what people are going to say or think, or you're worried you're going to mess up, you're going to not be perfect, which there's no such thing, right? But if you're worried about what people are going to say about you, you are doing a disservice to the people that you claim that you want to serve. So I say this, let's not focus on you, how you look, because I've gotten people saying, well, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that. And I said, let's get away from you for a second. Okay. You don't matter that much right now. And people are like, what? You don't matter that much. What matters are the people that you say you are there to help. So if you're a fitness coach and you're afraid of showing yourself or doing videos because you're like, I'm too old, who's going to believe me? Focus on the people that you say you want to help and have a healthier lifestyle, right? Or you want them to live longer or enjoy their grandkids. You want them to lose weight because you know it's going to make them feel better. When you focus on them, if you don't show up because of your fear, they're not getting the help that they need. And worse, they might go to somebody that could do damage to them, that might give them bad advice, that might harm them. So you have a responsibility to show up for your clients, for the audience, for your community. If it's kids that you're there to, to motivate, you have a responsibility to show up for them. Forget about you and how you're going to look and what people are going to say. You need to focus on them. And that, Jet, that works a lot of time for people. They go, oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I love that because I say this. It's sort of in a different light, a little more. I feel like a little more harsh with it, but
good.
But this is what I normally will tell people, right? I think in 2026, because we are so accustomed to believing that in order for it to happen, to get an audience, it has to go viral. It has to get millions of views and do all this stuff. Well, your business, your service, or whoever it is that you're trying to brand as this person to go out there, you're not going to sell to 100 million people. That's not your goal. It's
Yeah.
to get those people exactly what you're saying. It's those people that actually are going to buy services from you, buy your retail, whatever it is. You rather get 80 to 90% of those people than to get 5% of 100 million people, because it's so hard to try to reach all those people, right? But if you're in this community of people, there's like, here, hey, there's like 100,000 people that I can go after that there's such a good percentage chance that they're going to buy from me. Go after them. That can build your business into something else, and then you start to
Yeah.
grow from there. But I think when you're trying to just get everyone everywhere, it's a little bit out of focus, and then you start to feel defeated a lot of times, because it's such a huge reach to try to do that. And you're like, I did not get 4 million views on this video. I'm like, you know how often that happens. It seems like it happens so much because those are things we see every day, right? But then you pull the lens out and you're like, wow, there's literally 7 billion people on YouTube trying to do the same thing, and there's only 7
Yeah.
people that make it to that, million views or whatever it is. So
And
yeah,
it doesn't translate to actual, millions of views do not translate into dollars into your bank.
Mhm.
It doesn't translate into clients or what depends on what your goal is. But also, here's the thing, and this is an exercise I do for people as well who are like, oh, I just feel like I'm just going to create content and nothing's going to happen. And I say this, I say, okay, when you're creating content, and let's say you're posting a video, okay, put it out there. And this is not to get too woo-woo, but it's a little woo-woo, whatever. But you want to magically imagine that your ideal perfect client is going to see the content that you create. They're going to be inquisitive and they're going to be magnetized to you because they are a match for your energy, for
Mhm.
your vibe, for your bat signal that you're putting out there. Okay. And you want that because, listen, as a coach, I spend a lot of time with clients. I want the right people in my world. I don't want just people to pay me and they're a pain in the butt to spend time with. And it would drain my soul if I had to work with people that I didn't really love. And
Mhm.
all of my clients, for whatever reason, the ones that are attracted to me are people that are like my family now. Like, I love them. They are dear friends and family members now. You know what I'm saying? So that exchange of my energy for their investment, for them paying me for my service, it's because I want to attract the people that I really want to work with. And if you put it in that frame of mind and just imagine, you may never hear from them. You may not get immediate feedback, but just put out that content. If it's writing the book or doing the video or creating a podcast, put it out there with that intention that the right people or persons are going to see this, watch it, feel it, and they're going to be attracted to what I have to offer, and then just leave it. And you'd be amazed. You would be amazed at what happens. If you have the desperation stink and you're like, this struggle and I need to make something, so I'm going to be like a salesman, like a used car salesman. No
Yeah.
offense to used car salesmen, but I'm going to push it out there and say, get that stapler. Today it's 50% off. Then you're going to get the tire kickers and you're not going to get the people that you actually want to spend time with and you want to help.
Yeah, because I love that staple analogy, because I talk about this a lot. And I think when you start to offer sales upon sales, you're devaluing your brand and what the service and the product that you're offering, right? Because then they're like, well,
Yeah.
and then when you raise the price next time, they're going to be like, well, why don't you just give it to me cheaper? Because you
Right.
offered it, like, and that's not who you want to go after, right? You want to go after these people that really appreciate exactly what you're saying, that they appreciate everything about that, and they're your ideal target audience, and they want to support the business. They love the brand. They love who you are. There's enough people out there in this world, in the United States, in these cities, in these small towns in America, that will come to appreciate, and not just America, all over the world. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you just have to find that audience. I love that. And I think, with this going back to having this AI platform that allows to push your subject matter out there for people who are inquiring about it. I think if you can get on that same page and get everything aligned right, or at least like 80%, 85% of your information on there, so that when someone's looking for, the plumber that is in my area that also has good reviews and is trustworthy, and AI takes all the information and go, hey, these reviews look real, they're outstanding. This is where it's going to push. But now, we just have to go back 7 to 10 steps to try to get that person on board to be able to do all these things that are going to get there. So yeah, I appreciate everything you're saying there. I feel like you and I think in this same realm, right?
Yeah.
I think what you're trying to do. I think I love everything about what you're doing is because you're trying to bring this value of a brand and a person, as opposed to just trying to sell something to them,
Yes.
right? And I love that expertise that you're trying to bring to everyone in there. So I appreciate everything you're saying.
Well, we need to tap into the things that we need to just make sure we cover before we go out and try and sell our services, our packages, our programs, right? And because business is business, and we all need to, pay our bills, but
Yeah.
we need to be seen for what we are. We need to be very clear on who we are and what we do for people. Okay. And we need to be trusted. And right now, the world, society, human beings have a really good bullshit meter, because we see people in politics, we see it in religion, we see it in Hollywood, we see it in the music industry, that there's a bunch of lying going on, and we can smell it right away. We know. And so if you can be authentic and authentically you, no matter how quirky you are, how weird, when you're authentically you, you are a refreshing breath of fresh air for people. And so that is going to move you ahead of everybody else is trying to be like a Kardashian, right?
Yeah.
So we are craving authenticity as human beings. We're like, just give me somebody who's honest and truthful.
Yeah.
And I'll throw all the money and time at them, but just give me somebody who's going to tell me the truth and be honest. So it's a simple thing. All you got to do is just be a good person.
And I think that even being a little bit outside the box, outside the perfect lane, brings people to you now, especially online, because we see that in social media everywhere, right? It's like there's like, you happen to like one video, and then this algorithm happens, and you're like, wow, there are 70 people that are just like this person, doing the same thing, has the same haircut.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about that. And I think when you look at these outliers, you're like, this is just interesting. You mentioned something before about when someone's like, feels like, oh, they're too old, or they don't look a certain way. I think that is where the future of all of this is going, is to connect to those people and go, you're actually like me. We might not look alike, but I can feel you overcoming an insecurity that you're putting out there and being vulnerable. And I feel that same way too. And to your point, everyone feels it, right? I don't care if you are considered a quote unquote supermodel, if in Hollywood or whoever it is, but those people, there's some sort of vulnerability or insecurity that they have as well, that they're trying to deal with. And we all have it. We're just human, right? And I think when those people say that they don't, it's because they're trying to overcome something so much that eventually it just overcompensates, and you're like, well, now you're not even a real person. We're not even able to connect on it. So, I mean, not to get too far into psychological, but I feel like you start to see this in our social media, and it pushes us to believe that this is the way we're supposed to be. But I love those honest people that can just share themselves and like, this is my life. I've been introduced to people online, especially YouTube, that are just they're 65 and older. And I think it's because of an algorithm. I clicked on something, and it just starts to have them. They're just like knitting. They're talking about just like stuff in their childhood. Like it's just so interesting, because that's the expertise that they know. They're like, I'm willing to share this because it's really a part of me. So I love everything that you you have to say about
Well,
that.
and it's important because for so long we only had the young and the beautiful, right?
Yeah.
That's all we got shoved down our throats is the young and the beautiful and the rich and oh, it's so amazing the luxury. And now it's like it's just refreshing to have, I've got this. There's somebody that I'm following on TikTok now who she's obviously from New York. She's got an accent like that, and
Yeah, yeah.
she's like, Gabon. She's Italian, and
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
she's got these big glasses, and she just comments on what's happening with the world and in America and the president, and she just goes off, and she's like, what are you doing? This is the stupidest thing. I can't believe it. But she's authentically herself, and you look at the comments, and people are saying, I love you.
Yeah.
I don't know how you came up on my algorithm, but I am so happy. I love you. I adore you. You're amazing. All those things because she's being authentically herself, right? And
Yeah.
it's refreshing.
One of the greatest lines that I love now that I feel like it's happening more and more in comments is whatever is wrong with that person, I love it. And that is, I think we're starting to connect to that more and more because we start to see it. And one of the things that I think has allowed us to see that more in light is the social media, right? There has been this negative thing, it's happened, right? People have become addicted to it. We see it, but I think the bright side of it is it's allowed us to see this world of really creative people who are probably creative introverts that are able to shine their light through their phone on their computer, be able to give a piece of themselves, and then really smart people who are able to take something and make it playful on these different social media platforms. And I think it was really relevant during COVID to see that there were so many clever people that I was like, wow, these people are so funny. You would see those comments where someone would think, they were like, you remember when celebrities, they all started singing. There was a video celebrities were singing, thinking it was going to help people feel better about being locked in and not being able to see themselves. And the comments in there were so funny because it was just like,
The
they were
comments
like,
is the entertainment. Yeah. The
Yeah,
comments are sometimes you just like, I have to run into the comments. I saw when they promoted that Christy Gnome video that was $28 million or however.
Yeah.
It was a commercial, which was really an advertisement for ice and, for picking up people and doing all that stuff. And she's on a horse and she's got a hat and she's the comments. I was like, I got to run to the comments. It's just like,
Yeah. Yeah, we're becoming funnier as a society. Like we're becoming funnier because of these videos. Like it's just I don't know, it's so clever.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And see,
Yeah.
for the first time in history, here's the great thing. For the first time in history, instead of being programmed to, remember, we only had when I was a kid, we had 3 channels on television. We
Yeah.
had radio, you could listen to your radio if you wanted to, but we only had ABC, NBC, and CBS, I think. And
it went off at a
PBS.
certain time. Like you got it. What was it? Like it just went off
It
for
was
like
a
5 hours.
high-pitched, oh, yeah. And it was like, oh my God, you never wanted, because that would be like you're a druggie or something if you're listening to that. But we were programmed to. They were called programs, TV programs, television programs, and this is what you're gonna watch. This is what you're gonna trust. The nightly news with Walter Cronkite. This. But we have found out that those institutions lie, and they tell us what they want to tell us or what the powers that be, and we've woken up. It's like the child who's woken up from the nightmare, and we're like, no, I don't want to get your programming. You're not going to mesmerize and program my mind. I'm going to seek out the content, and if I want to watch little kitties playing with a ball of yarn, I can do that. Or if I want to actually find out what's happening in the Middle East or in Palestine or, with a union, people protesting in the streets, I'm going to find that information out. It's the first time in human history, and we have immediate access to it. So that's also why there's this burst of creativity. And I think it does challenge the powers that be. And I think that's why they're trying to clamp down on that stuff. It's like, no, you guys can't go too crazy on this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
exciting.
It's such a cool moment. And I think for people to be able to harness that power, if people really sat down with it, and especially going back to entrepreneurs and business owners and people who are trying to build a business and a brand, to look at it and say, wow, if I have access to all of this at my fingertips, people can do that to me. And I can get my information out there in such a short
Yes.
period of time and have an effect, such an immediate effect on my business and my brand. I can delete that stuff and then post other things and be able to adjust as I go. I was thinking, to your point, back then, if you had a commercial out there on TV on ABC, it was it. Like, it was, you paid this contract to put it for X amount of times, and if that commercial sucked, you were just like, okay, I guess my family and friends are going to watch this for the next 2 weeks, and then I
Yeah.
don't get to make adjustments. Now we're at a point where, like, hey, something's immediate. We can post it out there and let people know, and there's this potential where for free, millions of people can see it. Or you can be like, I just want to try to get to the people in my 4 square blocks to be able to see that and see if we
Yes.
can target this area. It's amazing
Well,
time.
it used to cost millions and millions of dollars to
Yeah.
do a commercial, a 30-second ad, right? A commercial or even a radio spot. It used to cost so much money. So the companies, they were companies and corporations that were able to put their advertisements out. But with social media, now this a few years ago, but I remember there was this company, I don't know if you remember, they did a video, and it was hilarious. It was just hilarious. And it was Poopery. Do you remember Poopery?
No.
Poopery is basically, it's a spray. It's a little spray bottle, and you spray it in the toilet before you have to go. And they did this commercial, and it was so funny and reverent. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're talking about poo. But it was like kind of like that Grey Poupon kind,
Yeah.
Do you have any Grey Poupon? It was like, do you have any Poopery? And it was very, very funny. And it was done on social media. They became a multi-million-dollar company. They sell Poopery in the stores, grocery stores, all over the place. People were going mad for it. They wanted the lemon one. They wanted the raspberry one. And it was all thanks to social media. They did not do a huge marketing campaign and getting it on television, but that's the power of of a little bit of creativity and getting it out there on social media, and the market will respond. They always do. Always do.
To agree. Yeah, Christine, I feel like we can talk for hours. I'm going to have to bring you back on, and we're going to have to explore other parts of
I'd love
what you do
to.
to help
Thank
them.
you.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Okay, let's tell everyone first. Before we tell everyone how to find you, I want you to tell them about your book right now that you have out on Amazon.
Yes. Okay. So it just hit Amazon, just hit the shops now. It's called The Expert Authority Code: How to Get Seen, Trusted, and Paid for What You Already Know. My author copies are coming today in a box from Amazon. So I don't even have a copy to show you on the video. I only have a little printout, and I print out everything in black and white because I save money on the printing. But the Expert Authority Code, it's done in that kind of Da Vinci Code style, the cover, and I've got it now. It's a Kindle and also a paperback. I'm going to work on the audiobook. That's not available yet, but I'm going to work on that. And yeah, I'm really excited. It's like right now I'm checking the charts. We're like number 7 in the starting a business category and number 10 in marketing for small business.
Wow.
This is Amazon's number 22 in marketing. So I'm going to be checking the charts all day to see where we go with it. I'm hoping it hits number 1. That would be great. It'd be my 6th number 1. So we'll see.
Wow.
If it doesn't, it's okay. Somebody, it's all right. But it's
You're
my
like,
baby. It's all of the stuff that I've had in here for all the different years, and how people can become an expert. The things that you can do to become an expert authority and someone that people will reach out to and be magnetized to. Those tips and strategies are in the book.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Please go support it. Go check it out. And where can they find you if they want to look you up?
Super easy. Just you can look up Expert Authority Coach, and that's me, Christine Blosdale. But if you go to expertauthoritycoach.com, that's my website. It has everything there, links to my books. Also, if you want to have that consultation with me. It's absolutely free. You can sit down with me and we will go over your business, your brand. If you haven't started your business yet, but you want to, then that's a really important time to have a conversation with me. And like I said, it's absolutely free. And then you can also look at the 90-day accelerator program if that's for you. If you need somebody to hold your hand through that whole process and to help you get the message out about your business and your brand, then I encourage you to take a look at that. And I just thank you so much, Jet, for your generosity of allowing me to reach your amazing listeners and share this conversation with you.
Thank you.
We do see eye to eye on just about everything. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
been great.
For sure. Yeah, I can't wait to connect with you again. Yeah, thank you, Christine, for being on here. I'd love to connect with you again, have another episode with you, and we can start to explore other parts of what you do, because I think it's this is the way that entrepreneurs have to go. Honestly, to get yourself out there with what's happening in the digital world, we have to try to build that brand and make you the expert on it. So thank you so much, Christine.
Do it.
And
Yes, do it, people. Don't say I woulda, shoulda, coulda. Just do it. You got to do it.
yeah, on
Thanks,
that
Jet.
note, this is the personal side of business. Thank you, Christine.